This is Look West, a podcast from California's Assembly Democrats.
Hi there, I'm Clay Guzman with Look West. Recently, Assemblymember Damon Connolly, #RideWithDamon, left his car at home in Marin County and rode his bike to a bus station, hopped a commuter train to the Amtrak station, and took the Capitol Corridor train to Sacramento. Look West producer Don Andrews tagged along. Hi, Don.
Hi, Clay.
What was it like riding with Damon?
I got to tell you, it was a fun day. Everybody seemed to have a good time. We were on bikes, we were on buses, we were on trains. The weather was perfect. The buses and trains were all on time, which was nice. Clean, easy to use. We also got a chance to not only talk to Assemblymember Connolly, but an Amtrak official and some of the other commuters.
I gotta hop on the Amtrak one of these days. Is there anything that they told you?
They did. They had a lot of different thoughts about what it's like to be on alternative transportation. Robert Patchett, the Amtrak Capitol Corridor train executive, he told us that just like all the other public transit systems, they're still trying to recover from the massive ridership loss that happened because of the COVID pandemic.
So we're doing pretty well. We have been really going up by we're about 15% over where we were last year at this time. So we're seeing a slow and steady increase.
A couple of the other commuters that we spoke with, Martin and Sylvia, they're already resumed using public transportation, specifically the Capitol Corridor train, and they were just so happy to get a chance to talk about how they get to work and back.
I love the train. It's my favorite means of transportation. It's quiet, there's a bar, and I can work while I'm on the train.
Less stress, I can work, I could take a nap, I could eat, and I get to work and it's right outside my work.
And I got to tell you, Clay, everyone we spoke with had smiles on their faces. It might have been just because it was a pleasant day, but it certainly had something to do with the fact that they said they feel better when they use alternative transportation.
You sat with Assemblymember Connolly while on the Capitol Corridor train to talk about what harmonizing transit schedules means, whether cars should be alternative transportation, e-bike legislation he wrote, and what kind of bicycle he rides. Let's check it out.
Welcome. Thanks for being with us on Look West.
Great to be here.
Now, you rode to the train station on your bike, and we're here to talk a little bit about e-bike legislation and alternative forms of transportation in general. But if you don't mind, can I ask you first about your bike? What kind of bike do you ride, and how much fun is it to be able to bike to work, if you will?
Oh, it's a blast. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So I have a road bike, Marin brand, which is appropriate, right?
Yes.
Representing Marin. I've had that bike for a while. And yeah, back when I was a county supervisor, started an initiative where I went a month or two without driving a car, called #RideWithDamon. So I would ride my bike, take transit, the train, and occasional carpool, trying to reinitiate that. So we thought what we would do today is start from my house in North San Rafael, ride my bike to the transit center, hop on a bus over to the train, and now we're on that, heading up to Sacramento.
What are the challenges or difficulties you find with being a biker?
Great question. So, and I'll put challenges in the context of, let's say, commuting somewhere, right? It takes some planning and really some flexibility. There's just some logistical things. Like today, for example, I started the day in some bike clothing, if you will, right? And then was able to change on the train into now sport coat, nice shirt, etc., ready for business, right? So just kind of getting used to carrying clothes in your backpack. Maybe do you need a shower? Do you not? Depending on how things go, and is that available? There are some infrastructure challenges with biking, and it depends on where you're at. And the idea is to continue to improve that over time. There's also an e-bike option now for folks, which is great. In many ways, that's revolutionizing the ability to ride and commute in that it takes away hills, right? You can just kind of power through those. The occasional times I've used an e-bike, I'll just throw my suit on, and ride on the bike, right? No changing needed, no sweat happening, so to speak. But there are some challenges with e-bikes as well, which we can talk about if you want.
Yeah, we will definitely get to the e-bikes in just a second. Let me ask you, I heard you talking earlier about the environmental advantages of being an alternative transportation user. Does that make you feel good to do good?
It does. And, particularly someone with a strong environmental bent, that means a lot to me. It's also healthy. You can clear your head, think about things, or maybe you're riding with other people, which is great. On transit, you're meeting people as well, right? That having been said, the main thing that counts as well for the average person is how convenient is it? Is it actually logistically possible to get from point A to B within a reasonable amount of time, right? Mm-hmm. So particularly when you're stringing along different modes, where you have to switch, getting a sense of how doable is it to be able to get to work on time or that meeting. That's something that we, as transportation planners, always have to keep in mind. And furthermore, affordability. Very often, the mainstay of our transit systems are folks who have no other option but to ride transit. And it's important to keep them front and center in all the things that we're doing as well.
And how would you rate California's effort on coordinating the ability to ride a bike to a train station, catch a bus to a train station, the other way around, getting off the train and being able to get home? How's California doing on that front?
It's good, but it can get better. And I think the good news is everyone recognizes that, and there's efforts underway to do that. So in the Bay Area, for example, there's specific plans right now to better integrate transit, because in the Bay Area alone, there's a bunch of different systems, right? Are they coordinated? Possibly, but they could be better in terms of schedule, fares, mm-hmm. discounts, convenience in tapping on, tapping off to various systems, for example, with the Clipper card. I'm particularly familiar with the Bay Area and efforts going on there, but I imagine statewide, the same dynamics are in place where let's get fare integration, let's harmonize schedules between different transit systems and the like. And of course, with trains as an example, it's called first and last mile. How are you getting to the train? Is there a convenient bike path? Is there a bus, schedule-wise, that you're going to be able to take and then get your train in a timely manner as well? So dealing with that first and last mile, and then when you get off the train to go to work or home, is there a way to be able to do that as well? I find biking convenient in that regard, but it's important, I think, to provide like bus or shuttle options as well.
Everybody needs
or
their own
ferry,
version.
right? In Marin, we're blessed with a great ferry system too. Not a bad way to commute, but same principle. Smart train to the Larkspur Ferry, head over to San Francisco, or maybe you want to bike to the ferry, which I have frequently done. So again, coordination.
Should cars be alternative transportation? Is that the final goal? Is that we're not in cars, we're all on trains, bikes, etc.?
It's going to be a combination of things, and certainly the state also is holding this vision of certainly to the extent cars are being utilized, they ought to be electric, right? So our 100% zero-emission vehicle goal by 2035 is highly ambitious, but I think doable. It's something I support. So let's keep that in mind as well. But there's absolutely no reason why California can't be in the lead on transit. As I was talking with the Capitol Corridor director about, it's in transition right now. People are working differently. They're not commuting as much. They're doing different things in terms of living situations, recreation. So I think that's all being sorted out now, but I think the ultimate commitment still needs to be there with funding. It's always been challenging on the transit front, but right now we do have a lot of opportunity with almost unprecedented levels of federal funding flowing, particularly toward rail right now and other transit. As a state, a number of us are continuing to be strong advocates toward a transit future for California as well. And as we know, it just ties into a lot of different things, including housing, work, etc. So,
you mentioned safety, of course, and the legislation you wrote, AB 1778, about e-bikes specifically, is regarding the safety element of this conversation.
And particularly for youth.
Yeah. Exactly. If you don't mind, first of all, can you describe the different types of e-bikes, and then we'll get into exactly why there's legislation needed to keep kids safe.
And let's back up even further.
Sure.
Let's just be clear. It's great that when kids are interested in biking around town, biking to school, we have a great program called Safe Routes to Schools, which encourages kids and their families to do that, and education around that. In the recent couple of years, we're seeing an explosion in e-bike use, including amongst kids. All good. That having been said, there are different classes of e-bikes, and it's important to kind of contemplate that. Class 1 is a pedal assist e-bike that taps out at 20 miles an hour maximum. That's probably the most common type. Class 2 is a throttle assist bike where you don't have to pedal. It's almost like an electric, mini, motorcycle or scooter. Class 2 is also technically topped out at 20 miles an hour, but there's an issue there.
Okay.
And then Class 3 is pedal assist that can go up to 28 miles an hour. What we were seeing is a big spike in e-bike related injuries, particularly among youth. And I'm speaking particularly about Marin County, where I represent, but there are other areas that are now seeing this. It's something that's being studied. We're actually gathering data statewide. These are not like traditional injuries we got as kids on bikes, your scraped knees or skinned elbows. These are fractures, these are concussions. Serious stuff, more akin almost to like automobile accidents. We were seeing, I guess the way to describe it would be kind of behavior, particularly around these throttle assist e-bikes. Multiple kids were riding on one bike, no helmets, actually going above and beyond the stated legal limit of the bike. For example, modifying bikes to exceed 20 miles an hour, so which is illegal, but was and is happening as well. So it's kind of a set of issues that I can't even emphasize enough. It was probably, literally the top issue I was hearing about in the community is what are we going to do to regulate e-bikes. So local communities started looking at some possible ways to deal with it, whether through schools or the local town. Actually Mary Sackett, who we were with earlier, Supervisor Sackett, came to me with an idea. Can we, the problem particularly seems to be around throttle assist, younger people not using helmets, driving kind of recklessly. Maybe they're unused to bikes that go that fast. In many cases, the bikes are even exceeding the stated limit. can we do something about it? So that's how AB 1778 came about.
And what's it do?
So what it does is it would actually say if you're under 16, you actually are not permitted to ride a Class 2 throttle assist e-bike. It also puts a helmet requirement on riding Class 2 e-bikes as well.
Makes sense. And this is a pilot program for Marin for now.
Yes, it started broader when we first introduced the legislation. Working with the Transportation Committee, we decided to make this a pilot toward Marin, and it's opt-in. So Marin cities and towns and the counties can decide whether or not they want to adopt the provisions of the law. And we're hearing good feedback. Again, I think they're more broadly speaking looking at some of their own stuff as well, depending on the jurisdiction. But I think overall we've gotten a lot of local support for the concepts in 1778 as well.
And can you tell me, do you have other bicycle, bus, train, transportation-related legislation up your sleeve you want to tell us is coming down the line soon?
One thing that we were really proud about, and I was talking to Rob about this, is Rob of Capitol Corridor. We were able to save significant funding for active transportation programs in the state budget this year. They were actually on the chopping block to the tune of about $590 million. We pushed back on that with the help of my subcommittee chair, Steve Bennett, in our budget subcommittee, where we were able to get that funding reinstated, which was huge.
We call this podcast Look West because the theory is that California is a leader, and the rest of the country should look west to see what we're doing so they know where the future is going to be.
Yes.
Is California a leader when it comes to transit?
We could do better. I think we have the sentiment in mind, and I think you're seeing voters having been willing to step up over time and fund transit. Certainly the biggest ticket item of all is high-speed rail, right? That there have been some issues with. Those are well known, but we've felt it's important as a legislature to at least keep that on track right now. There's some promising signs with electrification of Caltrain. We just saw that happen coming into San Francisco. Really excited about that. It's those kind of things that are going to be necessary to keep us, I think, in the forefront in California.
Assemblymember Connolly, thanks very much. It's been an enjoyable train ride with you. Really
Likewise,
really enjoyed being with you, and thanks to the Capitol Corridor people as well.
Absolutely, really
today.
Appreciate that.
And we look forward to all of you staying tuned for all of the Look West podcasts. I'm Don Andrews, and this is Look West.
The Look West podcast is produced by the DCO Pod Squad for the California Assembly Democrats. Please like, subscribe, and share this episode. You can hear a new episode of the Look West podcast on the third Thursday of every month. When you think of California and politics, remember to look west.